Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. Main Source Bank, headquartered in Greensburg, Indiana, offering products and services to fit every stage of life. More information at mainsourcebank.com. Main Source, life needs a great bank. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Smithville Communications, serving southern Indiana with high-speed fiber gigabit internet. Smithville Fiber Gigabit Technology. Tap the power.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk. A busy week in the courts. A 3-judge panel ruled yesterday Indiana's gay marriage ban is unconstitutional. Ahead, the harsh words the judge had for the state. It's been a long, drawn-out fight in Indiana, the battle over right to work. It came to head this week in 2 separate court challenges. Need a ride this weekend? Have you heard of Uber?
Just a matter of going on the website, you can see where the drivers are.
The city ordinance requires you to have an office in the city. They don't. City ordinance requires you to post your fares. They don't.
Why some leaders are a bit hesitant to see the service move into their communities. Plus, new technology is helping farms increase their yields, but at what cost?
There could be personal information, what is being collected, who's collecting it, who controls the data.
Striking a balance between privacy and profits. Those stories and the latest on this week's headlines right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Hello, I'm Joe Wren and welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. Gay marriage supporters are proclaiming victory after an appeals court yesterday upheld a lower court's ruling that said Indiana's ban on same-sex marriage was unconstitutional. As news of the decision spread across the state, crowds formed for impromptu celebrations. But unlike the last time the ban was struck down, same-sex weddings were not allowed to take place, which disappointed some advocates.
I've heard that the stay is going to be held, but I think that this is in the right direction, and I think that we're almost there, almost to full equality.
The 3-judge panel that handed down the decision was considering Wisconsin's ban in addition to Indiana's. Judge Richard Posner wrote in the decision that the cases were straightforward. He writes, "The challenged laws discriminate against a minority defined by an immutable characteristic, and the only rationale that the states put forth with any conviction that same-sex couples and their children don't need marriage because same-sex couples can't produce children, intended or unintended, is so full of holes that it cannot be taken seriously." State House reporter Brandon Smith has been talking to the ACLU and the Attorney General. He joins us now to break down what the ruling means for same-sex couples and its significance nationally. Hi, Brandon. Despite the ruling, same-sex marriages that aren't being allowed right now, why is that?
Well, the federal appeals court has to issue what's called a mandate for the state to enforce its ruling. They didn't do so in this case, most likely because it seems pretty clear that the suit will continue on to the next level. So the previous stay on the district court's ruling remains in effect.
So even though same-sex couples cannot get married, advocates are still calling this a success.
Absolutely. They called it a victory for love. One couple talked about the feeling that with each win in court, it adds, their marriage feels more concrete. Another couple talked about each win adding more joy to the special day of their marriage.
And what's been the state's response to this ruling? As we said earlier, the judge was very critical of the state's arguments.
Well, the governor and Senate President Pro Tem David Long each sent out statements saying roughly the same thing, which is their hope is that going forward, the right to define marriage will remain with the states. Governor Pence did note that whatever the final decision in this case, he will ensure the state follows that ruling.
Well, so Indiana's law has been struck down twice now, once by the lower court and now by the appeals court. So what's next?
Well, as ACLU attorney Ken Falk said, there is a line forming at the U.S. Supreme Court as a lot of states are asking the justices to weigh in on their marriage cases. Everyone seems to agree that it's very likely the court will take up the issue of same-sex marriage when its next term begins less than a month from now.
Okay, thank you very much, Brandon. The other big
Thank you,
news.
Joe.
The other big legal battle that's been brewing for some time in Indiana is over right to work. The legislation bars unions from requiring employees to pay union dues, and 2.5 years after the measure passed the Indiana General Assembly, legal challenges to that law are coming to a head. This week, the 7th Circuit Court of Appeals upheld the law, and the Indiana Supreme Court heard a separate lawsuit. In just a minute, we'll discuss what that means for workers, but first, some background. When the House and Senate considered right to work in 2012, hundreds of union workers and their families gathered at the State House in protest, saying the law would cripple unions. They said it would pit union and non-union workers against each other and drive down wages. But supporters said it would attract much-needed business to the state.
It doesn't just affect me, it affects all these people here that are raising families. You know, each of us here has kids and wives, and we make a great living in our union. We work hard for our union, and we pay our taxes, and we vote.
This bill is right for Indiana because we're going to create jobs out of this. Our unemployed Hoosiers are going to be able to find some opportunities to get back to work, and it's a big plus for the state of Indiana.
It's still too early to tell exactly what effects right to work has had on Indiana's economy, but right now the more pressing question is the law constitutional? To help us answer that question, we turn to Indiana labor and employment law professor Ken Dow-Schmidt. Thank you very much for being here. Let's start with an explanation of each side's main arguments. We'll start with the plaintiffs. In this case, it's the International Operating Engineers Union that filed the lawsuit. What's their side to this?
Sure. Their problem, under federal law, we have an election system for determining whether or not workers are represented by unions in our country. And if the union is elected, they are legally obligated to represent all the employees in the bargaining unit, whether they are members of the union or not. They have to provide them, they have to represent them in bargaining, they have to represent them in grievances, they may even have to hire a lawyer to represent them in grievances. And this can be quite costly, and they can be sued if they don't represent non-members. And the problem with this is it's an electoral system. There are certain advantages to the system. It simplifies bargaining, and it makes sure that the workers actually want the union when they elect it. But the problem is that it leaves the union with a very tough business model. We are required to provide services, but we don't necessarily get to collect dues because you don't have to be a member. And the solution to this has usually been to negotiate what are called fair share agreements. The union negotiates with the employer that as a condition of employment, all employees, whether they're a member or not, have to pay for at least the costs of representation in the unit. They don't have to pay full dues, they don't have to be members, but they have to pay for the costs of representation in the unit. And the union's claim there has been that this is, under the Indiana Constitution, this requires the provision of services without just compensation, and that's a takings under the Indiana Constitution.
And then let's talk about the state side of this. What are the attorneys saying to prove that it is constitutional?
Well, there's a variety of constitutional arguments here. Some of them are First Amendment and equal protection arguments, and the union's argument there is basically when you require us to provide services and our members have to pay for it, non-members don't have to pay for it, you are burdening the non-members, or burdening the members. And those arguments were the arguments that were made in the federal court, those are the arguments that were made in the state court, and they were dismissed. The argument that prevailed in the state's courts was the takings clause argument, and there Indiana has a fairly unusual takings clause provision that says not only can't you take property without just compensation, you can't require people to provide services. The state, in trying to argue, they would say it's not the state law that's requiring you to provide services without compensation, it's the federal law that's requiring that, and that's largely what they've hung their hats on.
And let's look a little bit broader. There are 24 states now have right to work laws. Is there anything different with those states compared to Indiana?
Well, those state statutes have sometimes been challenged, but what's different in Indiana is this broad takings clause. There's only one other state that has a takings clause as broad as ours, and it's interesting because the takings clause is basically a conservative clause. It's saying the state cannot do something, it cannot take my wealth without compensating me, and so you'd think this might be an argument that would appeal to conservatives.
We have like 5 seconds left. Any idea of what the court may end up saying here?
I think that I actually, trying to look at it impartially, I think the union has a pretty good argument, but the government has the advantage that there are 4 Republican appointees, 3 of them from Governor Mitch Daniels. So basically we have the Daniels court deciding whether the Daniels legislation is constitutional. And I think they're good justices, but they were picked for a reason. They were picked because of their worldview, and that worldview will probably prevail and the union will lose.
Thank you very much for being here. Now we go over to Alex Dirkman for a look at this week's top stories.
Thank you, Joe. A natural gas plant under construction near Martinsville will reportedly cut carbon emissions in half. Indianapolis Power and Light officials broke ground on the $600 million plant Thursday. When it's complete in 2017, it will replace the nearby coal-burning Eagle Valley Electric Plant. In addition to cutting carbon emissions, IPL officials say it will also reduce sulfur and nitric oxide emissions.
Well, it really comes down to EPA standards that are coming into effect that makes it so that it's not economical to continue running that plant with the environmental controls that we'd have to put in. So instead what we're doing is replacing it with a very modern, new, efficient natural gas plant that allows us to comply with the EPA regulations, but allows us to do so at a very affordable price.
And how long have you been? The transition to natural gas isn't unique to IPL. Several other companies, including Duke Energy, are shutting down coal-fired plants as well. A citizens group is dropping its lawsuit against the State Board of Education. At issue was the state's open door law. The lawsuit claimed state board members violated the law when they sent emails to legislative leaders seeking their help in calculating schools' A through F letter grades. The plaintiff said that constituted official action, which under Indiana's open door law would have to take place in a public meeting. In a settlement reached this week, the state board agreed to cover the plaintiff's legal fees of $15,000. Indiana University's decision to close its Proton Therapy Center in Bloomington is having a ripple effect. As Casey Kuhn reports, a space designed to house proton therapy patients is also shutting down.
When the IU Proton Therapy Center opened 10 years ago as a cancer treatment facility, it was one of the first of its kind and the only one in the Midwest. When patients, often children, come from out of town, there's a special place in Bloomington that they can stay. It's called Jill's house.
We've seen lots of deer outside of the house, and we've seen a couple lizards and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Susan Dabkowski has been the director of Jill's house since it opened in 2008 and has seen hundreds of kids come and go. She says the house offers more than a place to stay. It offers companionship.
One of the beautiful things about it is that the other people staying here are going through the same experience. And nobody can quite understand what you're going through unless they're going through it themselves.
Now, Jill's house is closing. Dabkowski says, though, that the nonprofit's central mission of creating a loving environment for the patients staying there was fulfilled. The house will continue to serve its guests until the Proton Therapy Center closes.
A wooden sculpture that includes a cross is going up in a state park near the Indiana-Ohio border, despite warnings from a secular group that doing so is unconstitutional. The statue depicts an eagle, 2 soldiers, a U.S. and Indiana flag, and a white cross. The group, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, sent a letter to the DNR asking it not to allow the sculpture because it would be an unconstitutional endorsement of religion. But after receiving backing from the governor, the DNR decided to allow the sculpture. A Jasper-based propane supplier is refunding customers it overcharged last winter. In the fall, Ashland Propane DeMott entered into pre-buy contracts with consumers, but when the price of propane spiked in January, the customers were charged more than 3 times the agreed-upon amount. The company claimed the price spiked because of supply concerns, but the Indiana Attorney General said in a statement, after investigating, Ashland did not have issues with its supply. And the Colts kick off their season this weekend, but team owner Jim Irsay won't be at the game. The NFL is fining Indianapolis Colts owner Jim Irsay $500,000 and suspending him for 6 games for violating the league's ethics policies. Irsay pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of impaired driving Tuesday. Police pulled Irsay over in Carmel in March after noticing him driving slowly. And Joe, during his suspension, the NFL has said that he's not allowed to be at any of the club's facilities, partake in any sort of practices or games, or even represent them on social media or any sort of media at all.
Okay, thanks, Alex.
Yes, Joe.
Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk, a new taxi-like service is coming to Bloomington and existing taxi companies aren't happy about it. We'll tell you why they say Uber isn't following city regulations. Big data is the next big thing in agriculture. Farmers say they're excited about the opportunities, but they're also nervous about giving up some of their privacy. These stories and more right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
We are a nation of explorers. We seek new ways of living, of thinking, and of expressing ourselves. We take risks, We learn from experience, and we keep moving forward. That's why we encourage and celebrate the explorer in all of us.
People are looking for more light and less heat. Washington Week viewers are going to get it straight ahead, and that's what they count on us for. When we do these road shows, it not only helps me, but it helps all of our panelists to find out what is really on people's minds. We want to let you know what the information is, and then you decide what you want to think. That's what I think is unique about public broadcasting. There's nothing else like it out there.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. The ride-sharing service Uber recently expanded to 22 college towns, including 3 in Indiana: Bloomington, Lafayette, and South Bend. Uber executives say cities with lots of students presents a major business opportunity. But as Barbara Harrington reports, other business and city officials say they have concerns about how Uber operates.
Brian Singh's Ford Focus has clocked a lot of miles this week.
Monday, Labor Day itself, was a very busy day, more than I've ever seen.
He works full-time in Indianapolis, but recently took on another part-time gig as a driver for Uber. The ride-sharing service alerts Singh when someone requests a ride. If he accepts the job, it dispatches him to the location and keeps track of the fare, all on his phone.
It's just a little easier than a normal job that you have to do physical labor or clock in and clock out. Here it's easy. You go online when you want to work and you go offline when you're ready. No set hours.
And in a college town like Bloomington, where many students are without cars, Singh says it's a nice way to make quite a bit of money.
If you know the hot spots, and as long as there isn't the abundance of drivers there that's looking for work, then you're going to stay busy.
While staying busy is good for Singh, the owner of E2 Taxi in Bloomington is worried it could mean trouble for him.
There is a fear. You know, my wife and I have invested a lot of money in this. We've invested in the community, and we don't want to lose that investment. It's possible we could.
E2 Taxi also offers a phone app where customers can request a ride. They keep track of where the taxi is and pay without using cash. Company owner James McCleary says the only difference between E2 and Uber is that his company is operating legally.
The city ordinance requires you to have an office in the city. They don't. City ordinance requires you to post your fares. They don't. City ordinance requires $2 million of CGL. They don't have it. The city ordinance requires you to mark the car so that people can see it within. There's a whole number of things that they don't meet.
But Uber insists those rules don't apply because it's not a traditional taxi service. The drivers aren't employees. They're independent contractors. They use their own cars instead of cars provided by the company. Uber does, however, provide umbrella coverage beyond the insurance drivers carry.
On the insurance end, we have a best-in-class insurance policy that provides up to $1 million in coverage, both rider and driver, while they're on a trip.
Because of Uber's business model, the company says it doesn't need to be licensed by the city as a taxi company. The city of Bloomington released a statement in response to the ride-sharing program's expansion, saying the city is very much aware of the fact that Uber is engaged in significant amounts of litigation in other cities and towns over this very issue. To that end, the city is in the process of reviewing all defenses raised by Uber, ongoing litigation involving Uber, and its own ordinance to ensure that any actions taken by the city in regards to Uber are appropriate. While Bloomington officials haven't decided how to move forward, the city of Indianapolis is embracing Uber. They're allowing the ride-sharing service and another one called Lyft to operate under a pilot program. And in the year Uber's been in town, the Department of Code Enforcement hasn't gotten many complaints.
We've had a few taxi drivers that have expressed some concerns with them. I tell you what, those conversations are mainly during our weekly inspections, so they're sort of peer-to-peer in a sense. But we have not had the level of complaints nor issues that have arisen that would allow us or would cause us to, take heed and sort of sit down and say, okay, maybe we need to move a step further with them.
Chris Gall with Visit Indy says Uber's presence is actually helping the city by showcasing innovation. It puts Indy on the same level as other, in some cases, larger cities.
Before Uber and Lyft entered our marketplace, we had a growing number of meeting decision makers, meeting planners who were proactively asking us, do you have Uber and Lyft in your marketplace? So being able to say yes we do helps us stay competitive and book more conventions and larger conventions.
Gall says there's enough demand for both taxis and ride-sharing services in Indy that they can coexist.
Uber officials say it's their policy not to provide specific data on how many drivers have signed up or ridden in a given time period. But they say there has already been an overwhelming demand for their service in Indiana's college towns. In the year, the United Nations estimates in order to meet the increasing food demand, farmers will have to boost production 60% by 2050. Agriculture experts say part of the solution is using technology that promises to boost yields without increasing the amount of land or fertilizer farmers have to use. As Gretchen Frazee reports, Monsanto is launching one of those technologies in Indiana this year. And while it's eliciting excitement about the possibilities it presents, farmers are also expressing concern about the amount of private data it requires them to share.
At his farm in Leesburg, Indiana, Kip Tom says the way he farms now is drastically different than it was 5 years ago.
Before we always thought to produce more, we had to buy a bigger tractor or put on more fertilizer. Well, this is a different way of farming. It's farming smart because we're protecting the environment. We're being more productive with the resources we have. So it is the wave of the future.
More often, that future is taking the form of big data programs like Monsanto's Field Scripts.
In order to help farmers get the most out of every acre, a new science-based solution called Field Scripts has
To use Field Scripts, farmers like Tom partner with a Monsanto representative. Then, using data tools, satellite mapping technology, and iPads, they gather photos, soil samples, and previous yield estimates from the various parts of their fields and send that data to Monsanto. The company then analyzes the information and sends back recommendations on how farmers can improve their crop yields. Those recommendations can include anything from which kinds of seeds to plant to how far apart they should be sown.
We found out that maybe we were applying too much fertilizer for per unit of production of yield. So all of a sudden we found out that we got it in the right places at the right time, in the right amounts. They were increased productivity.
How much farmers' productivity increases varies, but Tom says he's seen his yields jump as much as 18 bushels per acre, which would be roughly a 30% increase for an average acre of corn. Tom has been using Field Scripts for the past 5 years. He was part of Monsanto's pilot program to test the product before it went on the market. Now Monsanto is making Field Scripts available across the state. But many farmers say before they adopt the new technology, they need to learn more about it. Top of mind for a lot of folks is privacy. At a recent Indiana Farm Bureau conference focused on big data, farmers voiced some of their concerns.
The technology is changing so fast that sometimes we don't keep up with everything that's going on, and we kind of want to know what is taking place, and that's why we came to this today, to see what is going on and what we should be aware of when we sign that agreement.
There's business data, there could be personal information, what is being collected, who's collecting it, who controls the data. Where is it going? How about the downstream use of the data? Is it being shared with just service providers and affiliates, or are there folks who are interested in using the data for marketing purposes? These are the kind of questions I think farmers are asking, and rightfully so.
Treat it as something very secretive.
Attorney Michelle Kaiser-Bray spoke at the Farm Bureau conference, explaining to farmers the need for additional safeguards as the agriculture industry enters into a new era of data technology. She says there are efforts underway to create more oversight. The Farm Bureau, for example, has considered whether to push for federal legislation establishing data privacy rules in agriculture, and Monsanto recently connected itself to an open data initiative that aims to develop industry standards on how farmers' information can be used. Kurt Calvert is the Fort Wayne District Sales Manager with the Monsanto seed company Asgrow and has been working with Kip Tom and other farmers to implement Field Scripts.
I think growers are all over the map. Some will jump in right away, and others, it takes some convincing and showing them the data, which is how it should be. Honestly, we need to prove ourselves. We need to prove our value first and foremost, and then also prove that we can be trusted with a grower's data.
That proof can't come quickly enough. Farmers say they feel the pressure to adopt the newest technology as quickly as possible or run the risk of being left behind.
It takes some education, but it's something we should all be doing. All industries have had to evolve over time, and agriculture is in that right now.
In addition to Indiana, Monsanto is rolling out field scripts in Illinois, Iowa, and Minnesota this year before taking the program nationwide. And you could name Kokomo's new baseball team. The team announced this week it's part of the Prospect League made up of college baseball players. They'll play at the 4,000-seat stadium the city is building, but they need help naming the team. The reward is, if your name is chosen, $2,500, season tickets, and team merchandise. That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news in Southern Indiana throughout the week at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following. Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less. Main Source Bank, headquartered in Greensburg, Indiana, offering products and services to fit every stage of life. More information at mainsourcebank.com. Main Source, life needs a great bank. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Smithville Communications, serving Southern Indiana with high-speed fiber gigabit internet. Smithville Fiber Gigabit Technology. Tap the power.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.